Joining us now is Jeff Byard, the Associate Administrator for FEMA's Office of Response and Recovery. Jeff, thanks so much for being here today.
Well, thank you for having us, and as I always say, I appreciate the teamwork that the media has and what you've done for us across the media spectrum of getting our important message out of keeping Dorian in your sights.
Well, thank you. We appreciate you. The first question is, what's the biggest threat right now to the U.S. from this storm?
So our biggest threat with any hurricane is always the water, whether that be rain or surge, and then the wind follows that. So, you know, this is a large storm. It's clearing Florida as we speak, and now it's going to start impacting Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina. So, you know, we want our citizens and our residents that are on the coast to make sure that they're paying attention to Dorian. This has been a long storm, so, you know, you can get fatigue at times to set in, and we really want our citizens to continue to monitor the impacts of Dorian.
Jeff, can you tell us a little bit about the coordination of the relief efforts of FEMA along the coast there?
Right. So, you know, FEMA's role is to support our state partners. So we have teams in Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina. As those impacts begin to become realized, we will be there to help with any relief supplies that may be necessary. Luckily, we're hearing light damage coming out of Florida, but anything can happen in these storms, and we're prepared for the worst.
Moving to the Bahamas, what is happening in the Bahamas, and does FEMA actually have a role there as well?
So, you know, FEMA's primary role is to coordinate for the federal government response and recovery operations for just that, CONUS, our states and territories. However, the Bahamas had a definite impact from Hurricane Dorian. Our hearts and prayers go out to everybody affected by the storm. Within the Department of Homeland Security, our United States Coast Guard that does a tremendous job daily. They have resources that are in the Bahamas now, and they're doing active search and rescue. We actually support USAID and others that have the primary role for any foreign disaster assistance, and they're engaged now. So, you know, you'll see more assets become available to help the citizens of the Bahamas. But FEMA's got a distinct role in focusing on what may impact us here, as with Dorian impacting Georgia, Florida, and South Carolina, and North Carolina. We also support with where needed as our interagency partners support us, but FEMA does not have the primary response or recovery role when it comes to foreign disaster aid and disaster response. Doesn't mean that our hearts did not go out for the citizens of the Bahamas. They are definitely going to feel some impacts and have felt the impacts of Dorian.
That was kind of going to be my next question. Have you seen this thing before? From a personal experience, what can you expect as far as the death toll? And from a personal experience, how does faith kind of carry you through leadership in these times?
So, you know, faith plays an important part of my life, as it does many Americans. But, I don't want to speculate on fatalities and when it comes to that. Unfortunately, there is going to be fatalities with a storm of this magnitude. Imagine basically, a very powerful tornado sitting on your house for 2 or 3 days. That's really what Dorian has done to the Bahamas. But you've got to also focus on what are those essential mission tasks that have to be accomplished to stabilize the situation and to begin to provide the aid. You have to have some capability to get into the Bahamas. The ports are down, the airports are down. So you kind of run through a mental checklist of some of the basic initial things that you have to do. Obviously, the end result is trying to help people. That's what we do in emergency management. We try to help people. But to do that, you have to have some concrete operational foundations like establish the seaport, establish an air bridge,
right.
Get communications gear on there, do all those necessary things.
Jeff, I got to squeeze in one last question. We've got you here. Yes. We're duty-bound to ask your thoughts on the administration diverting disaster funds to building the border wall. Is that at all impacting relief efforts?
No, sir, not at all. We have no limiting factors, whether it be staff, resources, or funding that's going to impact our ability to respond and recover to Hurricane Dorian.
Jeff, thank you so much for being with us. We wish you and all your team at FEMA the best.